I honestly don't know which angers me more, which I find more shocking. The most recent abortion statistics for England and Wales just came out, 2023. Or the Church's ongoing response, or should I say non-response, to this human rights atrocity. The new statistics are shocking but not surprising. Yet again, the overall numbers for abortion, so-called the baby genocide, have risen, this time by 11%. We're now in a situation where 1 in 3 babies is killed in the womb. Okay, so the total number of babies killed in the womb in 2023 across England, Wales and Scotland is just under 300,000. When you compare that with the rate that the total for live births, it's only around double that. So for every 2 babies born alive in 2023, 1 baby was deliberately killed. It's impossible, I think, to get our heads around these numbers and to appreciate them properly, but perhaps one point of comparison may help. Being a soldier in World War I was incredibly safe compared with being a baby in 21st century Britain. Something like 13 to 14% of World War I soldiers died in the course of World War I. It's more than double that. The danger being an unborn child in the UK, the likelihood of being violently killed is more than twice that. 1 in 3 babies are being killed in the womb. The womb is the most dangerous place to be in the world. It is the leading cause of death, so-called abortion, which is a euphemism. The intentional killing of babies in the womb is the highest cause of death worldwide. And yet still, the church in this country is all too silent. J.C. Ryle, in his booklet, Do You Pray, likens the Christian to a newborn baby. The first thing they do is cry out to their parent. And it should be our most natural response, our starting point, is to cry out in prayer. And on the front of prayer, there is some stirring in the UK. There is a growing number of people convicted that we need to be praying into this issue. We've got a growing speaker team, many of them young men and women who've come on to lend their voice, to be a voice for the voiceless. And many of them are running prayer meetings around the country in February. And this is going to be one of our great points of focus, these recent statistics, but also praying more broadly than that. So there is something of a stirring. People are beginning to pray late in time. And yet, if only I had nothing but good to say, even just on this front, even just in terms of prayer. Now, people are going to disagree perhaps about strategy. What about the pictures? How do we engage politically? And so on. But even just on the issue of prayer, we cannot say that we're even really active. We're not really praying in earnest. The church is not praying into this. And not only are we not praying, but we won't pray. We refuse to pray. I can't tell you how difficult it has been in some towns and cities across England, Wales, Scotland, to find just one church that will allow us to use their building for a prayer meeting. We've even offered to pay. It would seem by all accounts it'd be easier to hire out a church building to run yoga classes, or certainly it'd be a lot easier to hire the village hall to have a pro-life prayer meeting. But finding a church willing to give us, even at a cost, the space to run a prayer meeting has proven very difficult in some towns and cities. And some of my speakers are getting back to me disheartened because not a single church in their town will allow them to use their building for a pro-life prayer meeting. More than once, I've had people come to me saying that when they've prayed for the unborn and against abortion in their churches, they've got a slap on the wrist. They've been disciplined for praying into this issue. And then perhaps you've seen this, This time of year it happens, various calls to prayer, days of prayer, fasting prayer, 3-day, 7-day, 21-day fasting prayer. And the language is all, we need to seek God, we need to go all out, wholehearted obedience, pray for justice, pray for the soul of our nation. And yet so many of these prayer days and programs refuse to name the number one injustice of our day, the defining evil of our day. And even when we get in touch with them, we ask them, will you pray into this? We get an evasive response. It happened just today. And it reminds us of the Justice Conference some years back, claiming to engage all the great injustices of the day, but would not even acknowledge the unborn as the number one victim of injustice. Today, when we ignore the baby genocide by not saying a word, when we refuse even to acknowledge clearly the humanity of these victims, we are genocide deniers. And guess what? Genocide deniers don't get to claim that they are calling out for justice, crying out for the Lord to heal our land. God is not pleased with this kind of hypocrisy. Proverbs 28 verse 9 tells us this: if anyone turns a deaf ear to the law, even his prayers are detestable. Okay, we don't just get to come into God's presence and pray whatever we want to pray for, regardless of our conduct. The New Testament even tells us that if we're harsh with our wives, husbands, it hinders our prayers. And yet we think we can come into his presence and pray for justice, that he'll heal our land, send revival, all the while turning a blind eye to the greatest injustice, not just of our day, but in all of history. Is God pleased with this? Do we think we can quote passages like, let justice roll like a river, like Isaiah 1, Amos 5? I mean, let's look at these passages. Let's see what they actually say. Isaiah chapter 1. Verse 12, when you come to appear before me, who has asked this of you? This trampling of my courts? Stop bringing meaningless offerings. Your incense is detestable to me. New moons, Sabbaths, and convocations. I cannot bear your evil assemblies. Your new moon festivals and your appointed feasts, my soul hates. They have become a burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands in prayer, I will hide my eyes from you. Even if you offer many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood. Wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Encourage the oppressed. Defend the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow. Or Amos 5. Reading from verse 21. I despise your religious feasts. I cannot stand your assemblies. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I will have no regard for them. Away with the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the music of your harps, but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. And of course, that often quoted 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, repent, turn from their wicked ways, and cry out to me in prayer, then I will listen, I'll turn, I'll heal their land, forgive them their sins. We so often quote these things, not realizing that we are the very people it's calling out. We are the ones falling foul of that standard, defined and expressed and declared in those passages. How dare we cry out for justice whilst perverting justice, calling evil good, good evil, turning a blind eye, not even acknowledging the humanity of these victims. To do nothing in the face of evil is evil. Bonhoeffer was right. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. We're commanded to be a voice for the voiceless. We're not to pass by on the other side, and yet we do. And then we have the audacity to call these prayer days and say we're crying out for justice. It's all out obedience, the purity of the church. But we won't address the number one injustice, the prevailing, the defining sin of our day. Is God pleased with this? I think the scriptures are telling us the answer. Don't bother. Don't bother coming and crying out for justice when you yourself are covering it up and refusing to acknowledge even the humanity of these victims. It's a pretense, it's a sham. We're wasting God's time. It's an act. So I want to say to those listening to this, if you're involved in these events, these prayer days, but you will not address the number one evil, the number one injustice of our day, don't bother. Okay, don't weary the Lord with your meetings. Just don't bother if you won't address the number one raging injustice that grieves the heart of God. He takes this personally. They're his children, made in his image. Just don't bother, okay? It's better that you don't, because it's not genuine if you won't even pray for, if you won't be known to stand for the victims of the greatest injustice of our day. But if that 1 in 3 statistic grieves you, 1 in 3 babies cut down before the day of their birth, if that breaks your heart, if it grips you, and if it drowns out all the normal, old, petty objections, what will people think? Will there be a cost? Will there be persecution? Will this damage my career? What will some of those more bolshy congregants in my church think? If your distress, perhaps for the first time ever, has now reached that requisite level to do something, to do anything, right? Whatever it takes, will you just start with prayer? Will you pray for these victims? Now, another video, hopefully soon, we're going to take a dive into Esther chapter 4, and we're going to be looking at a lot more of the detail as to how we're called to respond in the face of a genocide. But there as well, we'll see prayer as a key component. But for today, I just want to keep it really simple and call on us to pray. We're going to talk about the work that we here at Brephos are called to, and it's the work of Brephos is really to make the work of Brephos no longer necessary. We don't want to be doing this. We want the church to be doing this. We're here to call and equip the church to do what's needed. We'll talk more about that in the next video, but just for today, will you pray? As I mentioned, there are prayer meetings popping up all over the country, mostly in February, right from Exeter through to Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, God willing, Aberdeen, all over the country. We're gathering to pray. There are many places we've not been able to find a venue. If you want to help us, or if you just want to run a prayer meeting yourself, get in touch. We'll help you. We'll give you some resources. Maybe we'll even send a speaker. If you're within strike range, get in touch if you need help finding or making a prayer meeting. But we need to pray. Will we cry out to God for justice? Will we cry out to God for these image bearers and the grave danger they're in day by day? If this movement is going to stand in this hour, we need to kneel. So please join us and pray.